Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Kelsey. Today I'm going to guide you through a yin yoga practice that will hopefully relieve any discomfort or pain that you might be feeling in your back, or just overall help with spinal health and flexibility. Also, I am using a new microphone for this class. I've tested it several times, but if there's any issues in this video, I apologize and I'll try to get them fixed by the next class. But just a little precursor that I'm working with new equipment, so there might be some technical difficulties. Okay, with all of that said, all you need for your practice is a couple of blocks and your mat and yourself, and we're going to go ahead and begin in a pose called supported fish, also referred to as heart bench in yin yoga. So you're going to start with one block on its medium setting going the long ways towards the top third of your mat, and then another block either on its highest setting or its medium setting to start, just going slightly above that. So this block that we started with that's going the long ways is going to go between your shoulder blades, and the other block is going to go underneath your head. So when you're ready, you'll turn away from the props, soles of the feet to the mat to start, just for grounding, and then we'll start to recline down over those two blocks that we set up. And as you're laying down, you can make any adjustments. So if the blocks are going too low, you might feel like a pinching in the lower back. If they're going too high, though, you're really not going to get the benefit of the supported back bend. And so you'll want to find that Goldilocks position. I'm going to move my clip so that it doesn't poke me in the back of the head. And then just set the block under your head in the way that's the most comfortable to you. Allow your arms to rest in whatever position is most comfortable. And you have the option to keep your feet grounded, or you could extend your legs long now. Soften your eyes, maybe closing them. And start to notice the flow of your breath, just as it is naturally right now. And take a few of those breaths to allow yourself to settle, soften any hard edges. Check in with how you're feeling in this first posture. How does your body feel? Also, how are you feeling mentally and emotionally? How is your energy? It's always nice to just take some stock at the beginning of your yoga practice, not as a way of judging, but our yoga practice is a lot about observation and removing anything that clouds our perception. And so you might also notice if there was a tendency to want something to be different, to judge what you notice. And again, you're just noticing if that's what happened. And then there's also an invitation to choose to do things differently, to let go of expectations, begin to deepen your breath a little bit now. And if there's an intention that's coming up for you in your practice, taking these last few breaths to set that intention. breath in and sigh it out. And so in between each yoga posture, we really want to take time to feel the completion of the posture and any release that comes from it. Moving nice and slow, you'll start to bend your knees, bring soles of your feet to your mat, and then roll over off of your props to whichever side makes sense for you. You can kind of prop yourself up on your left elbow so that you can push up and away from the floor, away from your mat. From here, we're going to keep the block that was under the back, but we're going to turn it wide ways, and then the other block can just rest off to the side. You don't really need it for this next pose. And so with this block on its medium setting going the wide ways, you'll lean on the left hip, stacking both legs on top of each other, and you're going to lay your left side ribs onto the block. This is called side opener over a block, or sometimes banana over a block. It's going to be quite sensational at first, especially if you've never done this before. And I like to start by keeping my left elbow down and then propping my head up with my hand. That way there's not as much weight going on this side right away. You could keep your right arm down beside you, or you could reach your right arm up alongside your ear, just letting it rest on the right side of your head. Soften through your low abdomen. And I want you to give this at least 5 breaths to really feel the shift in sensation. Over time, you might extend the left arm too, letting your left ear rest on your left bicep, maybe holding your own hand overhead. So it's a really big side bend, so good for the spine, especially the lower back. But we're also getting some myofascial release here. Every breath in, massaging the muscles of the serratus along the ribs. Deepen your breath again. Maybe you really sense that fullness at the top of your inhale before you exhale, and sense the emptiness at the bottom of your exhale before you take another inhale. Take another breath in. As you exhale, bring your right arm back down in front of you, and you can press into that hand to help yourself rise up off of the block. And then meet me in a tabletop position. I find that this is a nice way to feel the release after that big side opener. Maybe little wiggles with your rib cage side to side. Really anything that feels good is welcome here. Like I said before, we really want to sense the release and the completion of the pose before we go to the next. And then I'm going to turn the other way just so I can stay facing you. But you're going to just lean onto your right hip, stack your legs on top of each other, and you'll lay your right side rib cage down onto that block. starting perhaps with supporting your head in your hand. Left arm can rest down beside you, or you could reach your left arm up and letting the arm just kind of rest on the left side of your head. And so you'll notice that there's lots of silence from this point forward. I always like to take the first couple of poses to help you get settled, to give you some little cues to assist you in your practice. But Yin Yoga is a lot about stillness, not just in the body, but in the mind. So I'll get nice and quiet so that you can really focus on cultivating that stillness within. My last little cue here is that at any point you can move into that deeper side bend with the right arm reaching long, letting the head be heavy. One more breath in. Use your exhale to slide that left arm down, bring the hand in front of you for support as you press away from the block. Once again, meet me in a tabletop position where you'll just take some breaths to feel the release and any little wiggles that feel good after that deep side bend. From here, we'll move the prop out of the way and come into tadpole, which is just extended to child's pose, widening your knees apart, big toes touch, hips sit back towards the heels, and then reach your arms forward from here. Lower your forehead to your mat. Soften any tension in the space between your shoulder blades. Let your head be heavy so that your neck can relax. Feel the movement of your breath in your ribs. And let every exhale help you soften just a little bit more. Take another breath in. Exhale, release the pose, lifting your head, shifting forward into table, and then again, any wiggles that feel good are welcome. A few breaths just for you here. In our next pose, we're going to get a little bit more into the upper back body, moving into thread the needle. And so let's walk the left hand a little bit forward so that we can thread the right arm under the body, right shoulder and right ear rests down to the mat. And then left arm can stay next to your face, pressing down a little bit to create more of a twist in the upper back body, or you can reach that left hand towards the top of the mat, palm face down. And let your head become heavy. Make sure there's not any pressure in your neck. Soften your eyes. Stay with your breath here. If you notice that your mind is really chattery today, you might use a breath count, inhaling for 3 or 4 and trying to exhale for twice that amount. Take one more breath in. Exhale, slide your left hand back next to your face if it's not there already. Press down, slowly come out of that twist, out of that thread the needle pose. And you'll pick up on a theme here between each pose, just feeling the release and doing any little movements that feel good. It doesn't need to be a yoga pose or movement. It can simply be intuitive. And then for this one, again, I'll just turn myself around so that I can stay facing you, but you can stay as you are. Going to thread the needle on the next side. Left arm threads under the body, left shoulder, left ear to your mat. And then right arm can stay next to your face or reach up overhead. Twisting through the upper back body. It's really challenging to get into that part of the spine because it is attached to your ribs and your shoulder blades, and they can kind of inhibit its movement. But I find that this is definitely one of the few poses that can really help any tension in that space. Notice if there's anywhere else you can let go just a little bit more. On your next exhale, slide your right hand back, press down, slowly, mindfully come out of that twist, and then take your little wiggles. From here in your own time, walk your knees back, roll yourself forward onto your belly and slide your elbows underneath your shoulders for your Sphinx pose. And so a lot of people think of Sphinx pose as a heart opener, and it can be, and in Hatha Yoga that is really what we are focusing on. However, in Yin, we are thinking more so about the meridians, and so I want you to feel this gentle bit of compression in the lower back, softening your glutes, and then softening into the support of your arm bones, even letting the shoulder blades come towards each other behind your heart. And then your head can become heavy. If that's too much pressure in the neck, you can bring a block under your forehead. And so compression in the lower back is not necessarily a bad thing. Pressure in general is really positive for a lot of different elements of life. But what we don't want to do is put compression into the lower back and then move around a whole bunch. So in this, we're being very still, very mindful, but we're softening into that little bit of discomfort of compression in the lower back. This is especially good if the low back is kind of inflexible for you. It doesn't have a lot of mobility. One more breath in, and then exhale. Slide your hand under your shoulders, press down, and slowly roll up away from the mat. And it might feel nice before we move into our next series of poses to just do a couple rounds of cat and cow, Inhaling to lift the sits bones, drop the belly, lift your head. Exhale to round your spine. Especially after that back bend and those twists, this can feel really good. One more round. And from here, just swing your legs over to one side, lean over to one hip, and we'll move into dragonfly, a wide-legged forward fold, extending your legs out long, just going as wide as is comfortable to you. Find a little bit of length in your spine, and then let's grab the blocks and have them close by just in case. I'm going to use them right away. Bring them out in front of you. Inhale, lift up through your heart. And then exhale, lean forward, start with the length, and then whenever you feel significant resistance, you can let your spine round, you can let your head become heavy. And just soften into the pull of gravity. Make sure that you're softening your legs, not holding much tension there. And with gravity helping us out in this pose, if you find that your body invites you into more depth, you could lower those blocks or move them out of the way. Take another breath in. Exhale, let something go. And on an inhale, moving nice and slow, use mostly arm strength to press down and rise up. One vertebrae at a time. Eventually, head stacks over heart. Heart stacks over your hips. Flutter eyelids open when you're ready. I like to use hands under the knees to help bend them back in. And then we'll come down into our last couple of postures before we go into Shavasana. So just set your blocks off to the side and meet me in constructive rest pose. Flat back to your mat, knees pointing to the sky, feet grounded. Take a moment to acknowledge how it feels to have a completely neutral spine. Nothing is underneath you. We're not back bending. We're not forward bending. And we'll close out our practice with some twists. Also so good for the spine. And so let's start by pulling the left knee in. Extend your right leg out long. And then open your left arm out beside you, maybe all the way, or maybe just putting a bend in that elbow like a half cactus shape. And then take your left leg and cross it over towards the right. And so I'm using my right hand to keep my left leg crossed over, kind of like a counterbalance, but you don't have to do that. You can just let the leg flop over to the right. Some of you might like to put a pillow, bolster, or blocks underneath this left leg to give it some support. But really, we're focusing on keeping the chest as open as possible and almost trying to stack the left hip on top of the right. Take another breath in. Exhale, release the twist. Meet me back in that constructive rest pose. Take a pause in between each posture in this neutral position to acknowledge any shifts or in the sensation of your body. And then we're going to take that to the next side when you're ready. Right knee comes in, left leg goes long, right arm out beside you, maybe straight out or putting a bend at the elbow, half cactus, and then guide your right leg over to the left. Again, you could bring something under your right leg. You can keep your left hand on top of the leg. Or you can just let gravity do the work for you. One more breath in. Exhale to release the twist. Once again, come back into that constructive rest pose. Grounding your feet, neutralizing your spine. Notice the way that your back feels. If there's any other little wiggles or poses that we didn't get to today that you feel like would feel good to you, you can take time for that now. Otherwise, let's go ahead and set up in our Shavasana. You can stay just as you are in constructive rest. That's the option I'm going to take today. But you could also extend your legs out long. If you have a bolster, you could bring them underneath your knees. If you're near a wall, you could take legs up a wall. And because this is a full-length yoga practice, we're going to stay just a little bit longer in Shavasana. Please resist the urge to skip out on this. It is just as important as the rest of your practice. Let your body soften into the support beneath you. Let your mind quiet down and your breath become more even and natural. And you'll hear my voice when it's time to come back into this space. Enjoy your rest. Remaining just as you are, begin to bring your awareness back to your breath again. Notice the way that the breath moves in your body, and then allow that movement to inspire you to start wiggling your fingers, your toes, your wrists, and your ankles. Maybe eventually this expands into a big full body stretch, breathing in to stretch, fingers to toes. And exhale to let it all go. And in your own time, moving very gently and mindfully, roll yourself over to one side and meet me in a comfortable seat. There's truly no hurry. You can make any adjustments you need to along the way, fix your hair, your clothes. It's usually something that I cut out, but for today we'll leave it in. And so sitting up nice and tall whenever you arrive, just take a moment to acknowledge the impact of your practice on your body, your spine, as well as on your mental and emotional state, your energy. And take a moment to connect to gratitude. Gratitude for this practice, for the opportunity to get on your mat and engage with it, and everything that fell into place to make that possible. And for yourself for choosing to show up, choosing to take care of you. With this gratitude in our hearts, palms together in front of the heart space, Anjali Mudra. We'll close with one chant of Om. Wherever you are with your breath, empty out the lungs. Take a breath in at the bottom. Exhale to chant. Thank you all so much for being here and sharing your practice with me. Please let me know how this practice went for you in the comments down below, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I put out new classes every Sunday and sometimes a special one in the middle of the week, just because. With that said, thank you again for being here, and I hope we can practice together again very soon. Namaste.